as soon as the situation becomes desperate, and they're saying probably another 10 to 15 days, there's going to be a riot, and this is when Operation Chariot will kick in. And we are looking at a potential another Rwanda, where in one day, just hundreds and thousands of people just get wiped out because they are a certain ethnicity or a certain language, and that's why I'm on your show.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report here. This is a really important interview, so thanks for tuning in. Before we begin, I just want to say a couple of things. There is some remarkable evidence and testimony now coming out from New York City, where an ICU doctor unknowingly describes the effects of 60 gigahertz on patients. Cameron Kyle Siddell's testimony has been republished on the Dana Ashley channel. I've shared it at the Phaser and at SGT Report, and I'll link it below. There's so much more to this story, as we all know. Meanwhile, Bill Gates is trumpeting immunity certificates as a way to get back to normal and allow people to travel, as his pal, Henry Kissinger, calls for global governance. COVID-19, the coronavirus, is being used to roll out fascist and tyrannical lockdowns around the globe. In fact, what you're seeing right here in this video is not from Wuhan, China. It's Mexico. Get this. They shut down all the hotels in Puerto Vallarta, where Jeff Berwick and his family was staying, and they ordered people to leave. And this is what they ran into on their way back to Mexico City. So, as you will learn in this interview with Brendy Wells, they're using the coronavirus in South Africa as a reason to militarize the streets, and high-ranking members of the military there say they will enforce any order they're given. So before we begin, just a quick word from our sponsor. With practically everyone working from home now, VPN security is required. With more and more hackers and identity thieves on the prowl, if you don't have a VPN, now is the time to get one. Virtual Shield has the easiest and fastest VPN on the market and offers a free 30-day trial. Here, let me show you how easy it is to protect yourself. You just go to virtualshield.com or app or Google Play Store and download the Virtual Shield free 30-day trial, install it, and click connect. Take a look. Once I'm connected, my IP address says it's one coming out of Chicago, and I don't live anywhere near Chicago, Illinois. Due to economic hardship caused by the coronavirus lockdown, Virtual Shield wants to extend a Customer Appreciation Month to everyone and offer 50% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons, including Protection Plus, Residential Access, and VIP Performance plans. So sign up to a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN to see what the hype's about. You have nothing to lose. I'll leave the link below this interview. Hey friends, thank you so much for tuning in and welcome back. I'm very eager to have this discussion with Brendy Wells. She is the wife of John B. Wells, and Brendy was born and raised in South Africa and has been on the forefront of making the world aware of what was and is currently going on in South Africa today. Since 2014, she has exposed the atrocities and heartbreaking reality of the persecution her people are suffering as a result of the 1994 communist takeover disguised as a democracy. She is currently living in America with husband, John B. Wells, whom she met when she was on his show, Caravan to Midnight, in August of 2014. Together, they have taken awareness of this cause to the highest levels of governments around the world, and today she will explain what the next steps are in rescuing a nation of people from an otherwise sure extinction. Brendy, welcome.
Hi, Sean. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on, and thanks for coming on. And you've sent me a number of sound bites and MP4s and all sorts of things that I think we'll try to play for the audience here today. Where would you like to begin?
Well, basically, if people have followed me, they would know where I am, but I'm just going to quickly recap, and it'll be very short in terms of what happened in South Africa. John always say that South Africa was a blueprint of what is happening in America today in terms of a communist takeover, and I totally agree with him, because everything that I see around me now in America, what the Democrats are doing, is exactly what happened in my country 25 years ago. Everything from the racial card, the the way they attack people, what they have done to my people, the Afrikaans speaking people in South Africa, is they completely villainized us. They made us into these horrible racists, the same as what you guys are called deplorables, and they literally just played the race card. Nelson Mandela was a complete terrorist. He killed so many people, including children, most of them black, his own people, and blamed the white people for it. And 25 years later, my people still suffer from this. But what the politicians are doing is they are literally saying that, that they're telling the masses that they are suffering, and they're blaming everything on apartheid. Now, apartheid in itself, the word itself means segregation, and I'm not justifying segregation. Segregation was fixed by the time 1994 came around and Nelson Mandela became the president of South Africa. All segregation laws were off the books already. So it had really inherently nothing to do with that. It had to do with a communist takeover, and that is what they've done. Nelson Mandela, the first thing he did is he literally released all the people from prison, and they've taken over the roads, the schools, the hospitals, and 25 years later, it is all ruined. So, but what I want to be talking to you about today is Operation Chariot, and what has happened in the coronavirus lockdown and how they are stepping it up to the next level. So basically, when Cyril Ramaphosa, who is now the president of South Africa, when the ANC became the leading party in South Africa, he said that what they were going to do with the white people is like boiling frogs, and they will exterminate them eventually completely, but they won't know it. They won't know it until it's too late. And in the last 25 years, thousands and thousands and thousands of white farmers have been slaughtered, murdered, tortured, killed. And it's not just on the farms. If you are white, you have a target on your back. So what it looks like right now at this point is pretty much the word uhuru. I don't know if that means we are not free yet. In an African language, I think it's Zulu or Xhosa. But they sing a song about uhuru, and the lore about it is that there's going to be one night where they're going to go out and go into every single white person's house and kill them, like a genocide. Now, a lot of people say that is propaganda. A lot of people say that it's just a story. But I have voice clips here of somebody that lives in the township that says, no, it's not propaganda. That's what we talk about. We sing songs about it. We're waiting for that day. So this is why I'm on your show, because this is what I want to show. And if there's a document, can I share my screen quickly?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so there's a document that the government of South Africa released the day of the lockdown, and that is where they announce that they are going to shut down the country completely, and they are calling up the infantry, military. So the situation, they just explain here what they're going to do. You can see it was on the 22nd of March, and they just say, okay, we're going to go into lockdown. SANDF is the South African National Defence Force, and they're saying which people or which SAI is South African infantry, which battalion is going to be deployed in which areas. And I don't want to read through the whole thing because it's going to take time. But as you see, they're calling it Operation Chariot. So that kind of caught my eye, and I wondered, what on earth does that mean? So then I looked into Operation Chariot. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. I looked into Operation Chariot, and it is actually an operation that was that happened in Germany during the Second World War, where they took out all these racists, you know. So in South Africa, the white people you're just racist. You're just racist because you're white. I mean, whether or not you are, in fact, a racist is irrelevant. But but we're not, we just normal people like everybody else. We want to just grow our food and live our lives and raise our children. We really have no beef with anyone and never really had, but that wasn't the propaganda that went into the world. So basically what has happened as a result is that I just need to get to my little file here so I can open this link for you. But I sent the information to a CIA analyst, and I asked him, "What do you think this means?" Because it's pretty weird that they would call it after an operation that was exercised by Germany in the Second World War, and a lot of people died as a result. So this is exactly what he said to me, and he asked me not to actually reveal his identity. But this is really why I came onto your show, and it's shocking that your own government wants to kill you. I mean, the previous president of South Africa sang songs about how they're going to kill the farmer, kill the Boer, and that cabinet is going to hit us with a machine gun. There's buses being branded, your land or your life, land or death. I mean, and openly threaten us like that. But this is the words that came from the CIA analyst. He says, Operation Chariot took out a strategically critical Nazi, the racist analog, you can see that it's there, infrastructure required for Germany to project power from their relatively secure embattlement during a time of war against a power inferior opponent in a limited time frame. Deploying an explosive, and in this case, virus-laden battleship, and then in brackets again, force projection, they were able to defeat the seemingly invincible defensive battlement and defeat the racists. Decode, and this is what he wrote, the South African 8 mercenaries intend to explode their virulence in the cloister Afrikaans defenses and let the virus do what they could not do through employment of arms. So the clips that I sent you, that is called Sipho, he is a black friend of mine that lives in South Africa still, and he always keeps his ear on the ground and listens to what the politicians are saying and how they are rallying up the people in the townships. And he's saying that they are waiting for the moment that people become desperate and they start looting. And they have told them, and I've got the voice clips for you to listen to, that the food and aid that they will need to survive are in the white people's houses. So he is saying that it is definitely political. It is definitely a racial thing. And if they do it this way and the people go in, steal all the stuff and kill whomever's in those homes, then the government of South Africa can simply, pull up their shoulders and say, yeah, well, there was a lockdown and there was unrest, and they don't have to take accountability for what they are planning. And I just wanted to come and say there's definitely, how symbolism is. They always say what they're going to do. And just the mere fact that they called this Operation Chariot is a reason to be extremely concerned and keep an eye on it. And that's what I want to say about that.
Yeah, let me see if I can call up that clip, Sipho 1. Hold on. All right, let me play this, and you tell me if you can't hear it right away.
I think there will be a police state. South Africa might turn to be a police state, because that's where it's leading. Because I know people will revolt when police are and military guys just assaulting them just like that. They will revolt. I think AC is testing how it will be if it will reach to become a police state, to police people. This is where it's heading, I think so.
Did that come through okay?
Yes, it did. Could you play all four of those clips?
Yes.
One after each other.
Yep. Here comes Sipho 2.
Remember, Brandy, any protest start very small, and any racial attack, motivated attacks, they start very, very small, and they just start with meaningless accusations. Like now, people are promoting this idea that white people in the suburbs or in the cities are finishing food in the grocery stores. They leave nothing for blacks, but it is not true. People who are doing shopping now are both black and white, and many of them are blacks, of course. But racial motivated hate in South Africa, it is very, very popular. People will take this side that white people are finishing food at grocery stores. They leave nothing for blacks. If it's leading to that, that would be a disaster.
All right, here comes SIPO 3.
Thank you.
But this will not end well. This is not going to get well. Already, we know South African SAPS and military are very, very careless at treating people. I think people are going to get hurt during this period here, unnecessary. No, we shall see about it. Thank you, Brandy.
All right, can you remind us who's speaking?
Okay, so this is Sipho Mnisi. He is a citizen of South Africa. He lives in the townships. The townships in South Africa are your informal settlements, and that is usually where they rile up the masses. The politicians go in there, they tell the people what they should be protesting and what they should be doing. So Sipho keeps his ear on the ground and sends messages to me and let me know what is going on. And in his little messages, English is not his first language or even his second language, so he's struggling a bit. But what he is saying in those messages is that the people are going to revolt. And the way that the military are handling the situation as well is appalling. They've already shot a guy who just came out on his balcony. I'm going to share my screen and show you. This is the South Africa National Defence Force. And a major in the Defence Force wrote, "Now it's the white people's turn. Outcry over SANDF major's racist comments." So this is a country they have been in power for 25 years. Nobody gives them grief. Nobody opposes it. Nobody fights that. But they are continuously and constantly going after white people. There's over 100 laws on the books that prevents white people from actually even being employed, especially for the government. It was even in the government gazette that that they were to leave a position vacant rather than employ a white person. So now the South African National Defence Force doesn't really make the news that often these days because it's we're not fighting a war. But the comment Moslala called on the man in the photos attackers to go one step further and should actually have poked out his eyes and tongue so that the last people he would ever see were the killers, and he could go to his grave with a nightmare. Apartheid is in him. All of these old white people think we are stupid when they say they were opposed to apartheid. We will not forget what they have done. Now it's the white people's turn. So now these are the people that have just been deployed, and they are policing the people. There's a complete lockdown in South Africa. You are not even allowed to leave your house. It's ridiculous. You are only allowed to go to the store, one person in a car. You must have your grocery list. And when you come back through that police, whatever, they stop you and they search and you ask you where you're going. And if you don't come back with groceries, they arrest you. I'm not even kidding you. So the other one is, there's a little thing here. This one, Ekurhuleni, it's one of the provinces, Metro Cape. security guard arrested for murder of a Vosloorus man. So this is a man who literally just went, he's a 40-year-old man who was shot on Sunday while standing at his home's veranda during the COVID-19 lockdown enforcement. So, and there's many of these articles, I don't really have the time to go all through them, but they're literally shooting people that just step out of their house. They haven't shot a black person, they're just shooting the white people. So basically what I'm saying is it's just a warning that as soon as the situation becomes desperate, and they're saying probably another 10 to 15 days, there's going to be a riot, and this is when Operation Chariot will kick in. And we are looking at a potential another Rwanda, where in one day, just hundreds and thousands of people just get wiped out because they are a certain ethnicity or a certain language, and that's why I'm on your show, is to say this is a situation that is hot, and keep an eye on it. And if anybody out there can help me raise the alarm, so that it's not just another situation where we go, oh well, we didn't know, because the world does know.
Let me play this deployment video that you sent me. Is that showing up on the screen? Here it is.
Amasotsha, guys. Over the Amasotsha phela.
He's speaking Zulu.
Hey. Hayi Polokwane ziyabuya namuhla. Checka. Close bye. Checka, guys. Amasotsha. Really soldiers, guys.
He's in Polokwane. He said, look at all the soldiers in Polokwane. That's another region. So I sent you a bunch of clips, and it's just the deployment video, deployment pictures in Gauteng, in KwaZulu-Natal, and all over the country, just to show that is the force that they are coming out with in the streets of South Africa to enforce this lockdown. But it's a very violent lockdown. There's a clip there, media. Can you see that clip?
Yeah, I'll play that in a second. So just to be clear, the deployment is in the name of the COVID-19 coronavirus?
Yes, the coronavirus lockdown to deploy the army, but it looks like it's war. I mean, people are so scared, and this is not just white people are scared. I mean, especially us, because you know, we've had a target on our back for the last 25 years. But the black people are scared too. And that's what Sipho said. The people, they know a police state is coming. And if you step out of line, literally just stick your toe 2 inches to the left where it's supposed to have gone right, they will shoot you. That is communism in action. This is the feel-good Nelson Mandela walk on water freedom, which was actually communism in blackface 25 years later. And this is why I'm saying this to America. It's not because I'm like, woe is us, look at our country, please come and help us. We didn't have YouTube and Facebook and Q way back then. We only had what they showed us on the news, and obviously it was propaganda. We didn't know we were these horrible racists until after the fact. You know, we didn't know the propaganda that went out to America. We had no idea. We thought we were doing the right thing by this whole, you know, peaceful transition. And now, 25 years later, when full-blown communism is in effect, and every infrastructure, every facility, every healthcare, to roads, schools, everything is in such bad shape. I mean, if you want to die, go to a hospital in South Africa. They don't have beds. They literally have stolen the beds. All the equipment, all the cancer screening machines, the X-ray machines, everything, the CAT scan stuff, they've been donated to these hospitals, but they are never implemented because they actually go into a back room and then they get sold for spare parts, metal scrap. And that's what these people are doing. So I don't know if this COVID virus thing is as big as everybody say it is. I doubt it is, but you know, for argument's sake, they locked an entire country down because of this. There's no way. I mean, they cannot even handle normal everyday procedure. If you want to go and see a doctor, they got rid of every single white doctor. Then they realized, oh, oops, we don't have doctors. So they imported them from the Congo. Those people don't even speak English. So what happens, you've got one doctor and you've got a line that literally goes around the hospital 3 times. You sit in that line sometimes for 3 days before you see a doctor that cannot even speak your language. Plus, there are many times where people in that line just die and they just come and collect the body. So that's how they handle just your normal, average, day-to-day medical needs of South Africa. So if COVID hits the informal settlements and the rural areas, it's going to be a disaster. But that's just the one thing. They are using this lockdown to deploy the military on that vicious level, and they are literally beating up people. They're shooting people on their verandas for just stepping out of their house. And people don't know this because the whole world is locked down. Right. And everybody is stuck in their little cubicle. But I wanted to say that there's a potential genocide brewing in my country that, I mean, obviously I'm very worried about. My entire family is still there. I wake up every morning and look at my phone to see if my family is still alive. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. We'll play this media attack clip in a second, but I was thinking about that while you were talking. You were born and raised in South Africa. My question was going to be, do you still have family there? And what will it take before they finally get scared enough to get out? Or is this just one of those things where you're like, no, I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight. But boy, the whole apparatus is being turned around against Caucasian people, and that's got to be damn scary if you're still living there.
It's not a question of staying and fighting and what will it take to get out. They have denied my son's a tourist visa 3 times. He couldn't even come to my wedding with John. They denied his visa to come to my wedding. And in the last 3 years, we have applied every year for him to just come and visit. They deny it. They say that he cannot prove that he has enough assets to come back to South Africa. He's a child. I mean, he just finished studying, but I mean, he cannot even get a job as a waiter. A couple of my friends have actually even committed suicide because they couldn't get out.
So he's a prisoner.
Literally trapping them in South Africa and not allowing them to leave.
He's a prisoner in his own country.
Yes, and even then, when he gets here, what he has to do to apply for asylum, that's another story. South Africa is classified as a safe harbor country. America is also classified as a safe harbor country, and that is we're actually challenging that in the international courts now. But you cannot ask for asylum in a safe harbor country if you are coming from a safe harbor country. The judge will look at that and they just send you back. So many South Africans have tried to escape. The ones that had money, they got out. There are more South Africans living outside of South Africa than inside of South Africa, and I'm talking about white people now. But the ones that could get out, got out. The ones that are left are stuck. There's, of a population of about 70 million people, there's only about 4 million white people left. And you know the word genocide, if you look at it, it's not just killing them indiscriminately, but it is marginalizing them, taking away their faith, taking away their ability to work, taking away their, so gradually just taking these people. There's what they call...
It's like boiling a frog.
Yeah, it's what they call squatter camps. Squatter camps is where it's just a piece of land, usually an old rubbish dump, and they just take corrugated iron boards and just make a little shelter. There's no sanitation, no toilets, no water, no electricity. There's nothing. It's just, you just live there. And they're estimating that there's almost 800,000 white people in these squatter camps. And these are people that are engineers, doctors, qualified people that is just, they cannot get work. They cannot find work because they are white. Now, I ask you, a people that became free from what they deemed the worst racial situation in the history of mankind was, which is another story and another interview altogether. They are treating the whites so bad, and I think, and it's not just what I think, that people have said this, they want us all dead. But when we are dead, I don't know who's going to pay the taxes because they've just about emptied the treasury.
Yeah.
And but that's not even that. What will happen is there's 7 different tribes. There's Zulu, Xhosas, Vendas, Sesotho's, and they will just start tribal warfare.
Yeah.
That is why we had the homelands. We gave every tribe their own country so that they could raise their kids and teach them in their own language. It wasn't apartheid. The word was villainized and weaponized. What we did is we gave every tribe and tongue an opportunity to rule themselves, self-determination. And if you go and look on YouTube, and if the President Verwoerd, which they also call the father of apartheid, and he's been villainized so badly. But there's videos on YouTube where he's talking to the homeland leaders, and you can see how grateful they are and how happy they were. But the New World Order and the people that want a one world government didn't like that. So they destroyed it, and they villainized everyone as a result. And the people everybody was marching for to end apartheid, they are worse off today. Sipho is one of them that spoke to. They're sitting in townships. They don't have health care, which they had for free. They have nothing. And they are more poor today than they were under this so-called horrible apartheid regime. Look, no government is perfect. But we didn't indiscriminately kill thousands of black people just for the sake of it. We didn't. The only time that there was really conflict is when the ANC, ran by Nelson Mandela, planted bombs all over the country, blew up power stations, blew up restaurants, blew up shopping centers. And then they started marching. And then, of course, the security police would move in and to try and disperse the crowd. Similar scenario that you had in Ferguson.
Well, it's the same thing going on in Portland with Antifa.
Yes.
I mean,
exactly.
And it's the same forces, I think, that organize these things too. Soros-backed NGOs and the criminals. Just before I forget, how old is your son? Is he college aged?
Yes, he is now 24. We started the procedure when he was 20, which still made him a minor. But because of red tape, he went over 21, and now he's an adult, so he has to apply. But he's just finished studying, and we're desperately trying to get him out. We are making a plan. I'm working with people, and we're getting him out of South Africa. He cannot come to America because they just refuse to give him a visa. So we resettling him in Eastern Europe, and and just pray that he will be okay. There's a huge South African community there now, and I'm going to try and get my parents out as well. So
okay.
That's really what's happening. It's just want to save their lives because they are in danger.
Can you see this media attack clip?
Yes, I can.
All right, I'll play it.
From that, you want to come to the police station. You want to get it at the police station. No, I'm serious. You want this phone at the police station.
I have the right to take
No. You're not part of media.
I am.
You're not part of media.
Am.
Sorry. Then take your phone at the police station. Take it to the police station.
Can I show you my media box?
No, it will go to war room. No, it will go to war room.
That's my boss.
No.
So her media pass got taken, confiscated from her, and she also got beaten up. And she had a press notice on her clothes. They knew she was from the press, and she just wasn't allowed to take photographs.
Mm. Let me ask you about these SVDM clips you sent me. There's 6 of them. Are there a few of those sound bites you want me to play?
Yes, you can play 1 and 2 maybe. This is Schalk van der Merwe. That's what the SVDM stands for. And he is the leader of the South African Conservative Party. And that was his commentary the day that he read about Operation Chariot.
Okay, here's SVDM 1.
Thank you, Brandy, for your inquiry relating to troop movements inside South Africa. Yes, it's indeed official at this point in time. It has been published. There's certain orders and instructions clearly published that indicate that certain units will be deployed across the country, and more so in Gauteng province, being the largest province and also the most populous province in South Africa. The operations are called Operation Prosper and Operation Chariot. Those are the two designations. Exactly what the army is supposed to do is quite unclear at this point in time. One would suppose it's simply to protect citizens and businesses and houses and so forth. However, one of the generals of the Defence Force came out today in the media to say that they will follow any orders given to them. The implication is very clear what that means. And secondly, he said that they will move in and they will skop and donder. It's Afrikaans, simply meaning that they will kick around and assault whoever comes in their way. Now, we are not dealing here with a war situation. We're dealing here with sick people, supposedly sick people, and a spreading virus. We're not dealing with a war. We're not dealing with an invasion. So why would the general go in and say things like that? It's very heavy-handed. It's very unnecessary to my mind. About the troop movements themselves, it seems as if they've been deployed in Gauteng province, especially in the northern parts of Johannesburg city. Johannesburg being the biggest city in South Africa, Sandton the richest city in South Africa and also the world. Just hold a moment, new voice note.
So he mentioned scope and donner. You sent me an MP4. I'll play that in a second. But isn't it interesting that this coronavirus is now providing excuses for governments around the world to do whatever the hell they want?
Exactly, and it's happening all over the world. Skop en donder is actually, it's Afrikaans for kick and assault. So this little clip is a general saying this on national television, is that we don't get our order. I mean, we don't do what we want. We get our orders. Listen.
And we do not deploy ourselves. We are ordered. And then when we are ordered to do something, we will never refuse. If I may repeat what I said in November, that, when we come in, we scope and donor.
Well, yeah, this is the people to supposedly take care of sick people and keep the peace, but they're going to come in and kick and assault. Why?
No, it's terrifying. So he's saying that when we're given an order, we never refuse an order. So if the order is to arrest or kill white people or any people, he's basically saying that he'll comply. He'll obey those orders.
Exactly. So that is exactly what they have been planning for the last 25 years. And it's absolutely shocking to think that a government can just turn on its own people. And I mean, we're a minority. The white population of South Africa, I mean, we don't have a voice. We don't have any rights. We have nothing. We don't really even make a noise. We just keep our nose clean and start our own little businesses. But if you want any form of government assistance during this coronavirus, my sister's got a little shop. It's a curio shop in the Drakensberg, which is mainly targeted for tourists. But the last 2 months, there's been no tourists. So she's absolutely in a terrible state. And she cannot apply for government assistance because she needs to give 51% of her business to a black person first before she can qualify for any assistance whatsoever.
My God. So what is the rest of the world saying about this? What are world leaders saying about this in the West? Anything?
Nothing. You know, I have written to the UN, I've written to senators, I've written to the DOJ, I've written to everyone I can find, which, care to listen, and I just always get the standard little letter back that says, yeah, we're aware of it and we're looking into it and we're working with the South African government to resolve this. Even when President Trump tweeted about the farmers being murdered and that he's sending Mike Pompeo over to go and investigate, the media just absolutely went into overdrive. And the first media outlet that actually had an opinion was a Chinese publication. But I understand that, because the Chinese has basically owned the entire of South Africa. Was now with this land, taking back the land without compensation. They telling the people that white people stole their land, which is just a load of rubbish. That never happened. But the point is, the people, once they take back those land, they never give it back to the people. The same happened in Zimbabwe. All those farms that got stolen from the white people, and the white people just got driven out of Zimbabwe. My sister married a Zimbabwean farmer. They weren't allowed to even leave. They weren't allowed to even leave with their vehicles. They had to get out of the car. They literally crossed Beitbridge into South Africa with a suitcase, a 3-month-old baby, and they couldn't even take their vehicle out. So all that land now belongs to the Chinese. Now I ask you, what is the agenda here?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just awful and shocking that this is all being done on the back of this coronavirus. It just seems to me that, I've said this a million times, Brendy, we were winning, and the elite played the pandemic card. And that pandemic card is giving them carte blanche to do a lot of unconstitutional and anti-liberty things. And I just don't know how much longer the lockdown, economically speaking, can go on in this country before people are fed up, tired, hungry, angry, and completely fed up.
That's true. But if you go back and you look at the Bolshevik Revolution and how communism came into play, and you just read Lenin and you read Stalin, in order to take over a country, what you need is a civil war and then starvation. And what do you think this is going to lead to if it's locked down for too long? This is their plan, and we just shouldn't take the bait.
I couldn't agree more. Brendy, thank you so much. And of course, you're welcome to come back on anytime to give us updates on this. I really appreciate it, because for most of us, I consider myself a pretty tapped in, aware guy. Most of this is news to me, so, and probably to our audience, since the mainstream media is crickets on this thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We very much appreciate it. Of course, you do so much great work over there. You're a producer for Arc to Midnight. Of course, you're married to John B. Wells. So anything else you want to leave us with?
Well, just go to caravantomidnight.com and have a look around, and you'll see John and I do programs together. We have a Saturday night show on terrestrial radio, 9 to midnight Central Time. Go to arcmidnight.com and you'll find all the information there. Thank you.
All right. Very good. And give my best to John. He's a good guy. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We very much appreciate it. And for real news 24/7, please visit us directly at sgtreport.com. God bless. Bye-bye.
It's either stay in your house and watch your whole life disintegrate before you, or go out and demand that you be allowed to live as a free, sovereign human being and take the risk of getting the virus or whatever you have to do. We're getting to the point. I don't think it's going to last a couple more weeks before the people stand up and say, screw this, Mr. Government. You don't know what the hell you're doing. We're going to take back our lives.